So for 4 months, May 25th to September 25th, that's 4 months, here's what we saw in Christendom. The Lord calling home 5 unique voices of truth that had very specific streams that they represented the Lord Jesus Christ in. On May 25th, Phil Robertson was called home. Phil Robertson, I would call him a cultural evangelist. Who was he? He was the patriarch of the Duck dynasty, that family. If you don't know who he was very unashamed of his faith in the public space, but specifically to pop culture and media. Phil Robertson represented that voice. And then not long after that, Dr. James Dobson. Who was he? In a very specific stream, he was more or less a family architect. Family ministries, parenting. Dr. James Dobson, in my home, his voice would be heard on the radio. Me and my siblings were raised on Dr. James Dobson's books and curriculum. And then not long after Dr. James Dobson was called home, John MacArthur was called home. And who is he? I would categorize him as an expository guardian, known for his love for scriptures and the church. And if you're asking who is one of my favorite preachers of all times, I would tell you John MacArthur, because of the way for over 5 decades, consistent and constant in reading the scriptures and bringing them to life, and God called him home. After John MacArthur, 2 weeks ago, Charlie Kirk. And I would describe Charlie as a public square apologist. Think about the voice to the youth that Charlie represented, a voice of clarity in the midst of a sea of confusion. And God called him home unexpectedly. And then recently, only a couple days ago, none other than Voddie Baucham. And Voddie Baucham I would describe, and he fits so many different categories here. He was a pastor like John MacArthur, one of my also favorite preachers, Voddie. But it seems in the past X amount of years, the Lord was kind of shaping him to be a cultural prophet. And he began to tackle issues in culture where he would call out the cultural Marxism of the day. And he would equip, and here's why it mattered. He was equipping the church and the Christian to have a reason for how we're answering the questions that are coming at us. Those 5 voices God called home. What is the Lord doing? I believe it's a change of the guards. I believe every time he calls one home, he raises up multiple other voices to fill the void. And the reason why it matters today, because if those voices are not replaced with voices of truth following their lead, the world will fill those voids and those vacuums with voices of godlessness.